you something really quite exciting, and that is a fantastic Q&A with Tatiana Wooldridge, or Tatty. Hi, Tatty.
Hi.
Tatty is here to talk to us about her experience as a grassroots eventer, and she's got a fascinating background in something which not so many of us have an insight into, which is the polo world. So she's going to be answering questions this morning about grassroots eventing, how she got into it. Tatty's also one of our Flying Changes coaching ambassadors for this year. So we've known each other a few months now. And so we're going to be talking about her journey and things like that. So welcome, Tatty.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So tell us a little bit then about where you're at now, what's going on for you. I mean, a little bit, okay, right now, like probably.
So right now I'm just in quarantine at home on lockdown, but currently kind of in my eventing career as such, I am kind of competing at BE90. I was hoping to be doing some 100s round about now, but obviously that hasn't really happened. So just kind of stepping it up a level now. So I'm starting to practice instead of prelim tests in, say, dressage, more novice tests, you know, just stepping it up one, jumping a bit bigger. So just going above 90 now, really, to start doing the bigger stuff. Bit more complicated as well, as the eventers will know, you know, B90 tests are pretty simple, and B100 tests, you know, there's a few more things to ask. So yeah, it's interesting.
Cool. And what is it that you love about eventing? Because I know you've not come traditionally from that kind of background at all, have you?
Yeah, no, we can talk about that afterwards. But really, for me, eventing, this is quite rare for eventers, but I actually have a passion for dressage and jumping, which is very rare because, you know, you get a lot of eventers that are like, oh, we don't like the dressage, but we love to jump and do cross country. So that's why we do it. But I love dressage, you know, I enjoy it, but I also love the cross country. So for me, I get to do both, which is great. So yeah, I mean, I don't really enjoy show jumping that much. So it's nice that I get to do cross country and dressage, a bit of both, really.
So it sounds to me like if you had the opportunity to do dressage with some cross country, that would be your ideal.
That would be ideal world. I don't know why there's something about show jumping that I'm just a bit like, but I know some people can relate because some people do find the show jumping hard. But for me, I love the dressage, I love the cross country. So.
And what is it then that you love about the dressage and the cross country? Because they are polar opposites, aren't they?
They are, you know, it's like, that's what I said, it's rare, right, for someone to enjoy those two. They're completely different. For me, I was kind of raised, so my stepmom kind of got me into dressage, and she loved it, so I enjoyed watching it and I really got into it. I had a lovely little dressage pony, and I just enjoy schooling and doing stuff like that. And cross country, I just love hurling myself at jumps. So like you say, it's complete opposite, but I love to run and jump. Whereas show jumping, I think, you know, you've got to think about it more. Whereas cross country, I can just be like, woo, here I am running and jumping. But show jumping, it's like, oh my God, I've got to sit up. I've got to look this way, I've got to look that way. What stride am I going off? Cross country, I can just, doesn't matter.
So it sounds to me like then you love a little bit of the, well, control is possibly the wrong word, but the sort of the accuracy, the specifics of dressage. And then at the same time, you're not a Gemini, are you, Tatty?
Do you know, I'm a Leo, a Leo,
just. So
a day off of being a Gemini.
That'll be why then. So there are two parts of you.
Yeah.
Exactly. As I'm a Gemini, I know this. There's the throw your knickers to the wind, love the cross country element, and then there's the dressage, yes, everything neat and tidy, doing it.
That's exactly it. Yeah, I do. I like the discipline of dressage and I like sitting in a nice position. But then I also think after that, I'm like, now I've done that, I want to be crazy. So
that's awesome. So we're going to come back on a little bit more about your journey in eventing and things, but let's just tell us. We've alluded to it. We're all fascinated. Tell us about your background then, Tatty. What's this about polo?
So my dad started playing polo when he was 18. He got given, I think he won like a lesson in a raffle or something, and just went and was like, oh, it'll be a bit of a laugh, and enjoyed it. It was at Epsom Polo Club, and he absolutely loved it. So he's played since he was young, you know. And then his brother, my uncle, he played, you know, so they both played for a long time. And when I was a young child, I grew up watching my dad, you know, every weekend I was bored, sat on the sidelines, just watching him play polo. But as I grew up and, you know, I got into horses when I was, you know, I was always riding when I was young, but I really got into riding when I was probably like 7 or 8. And you know, you can play Pony Club Polo, which not a lot of people know, but a lot of pony clubs, not a lot, actually, a few pony clubs offer polo. So I started doing that. I started on little ponies, and then eventually went up to bigger horses, proper polo ponies. But I mean, it's funny because when you first start out playing Pony Club Polo, you're on tiny ponies and you've got poor parents leading these little tiny ponies down. I mean, I don't know how many of you know about polo, but a polo pitch is 4 times the size of a football pitch. So these poor parents are running with a lead rein and a pony saying, hit the bloody ball to their kids. So it kind of started with that. And then I progressed up the levels through Pony Club. And they do the championships at Cowdew Polo Club, which is a big polo ground for anyone that knows it. And it was really nice because they, as a pony club, you're little and you get to go to this huge polo club and play, a championships, which is really exciting. So yeah, I've always done that. I was a member of the Pony Club Polo team for Surrey and Burstow for nearly 10 years. So but at the age of 21 you can't do it anymore, so that was sad. But then I still play arena polo now, so that was all grass polo, summer polo, but I play winter polo now, which is nice because when the eventing season kind of chills out and my horses go on holiday, I get to do a bit of winter polo. So that's in the arena. The ball's a bit bigger, and there's only 3 players on a team instead of 4, and I enjoy that. So that's what I do now to keep up with it, but I don't play as much as I used to, really. So
for those then who don't know much about polo, we've probably seen it. We might have stood at the side of an arena.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on.
Drinking champagne and going out and sticking the divots in with our heels every now and again, if we've even done that.
Yeah.
So polo, for those who aren't involved in the actual game, it's very much seen as elite, aren't it? And a lot of money involved and all sorts of things. But having experienced it yourself, especially going through Pony Club and bits and pieces like that. And by the way, I think I can understand why a lot of parents don't get their children into Pony Club Polo then, if they've got to run 4 times of a football pitch. That's quite something.
With the little ones, can you imagine? They don't even score any goals. The ball gets hit one way and then someone backs it the other way and the parents are like, oh my God, turn around, back the other way.
That sounds fantastic fun. I think if you're a parent with a child with a pony and you want to keep fit, you don't need to sign to the gym. Just put them in a Pony Club Polo team. Yeah, exactly.
Run up and down the pitch for 7 minutes. Fabulous.
That sounds like some kind of crazy hit, if you ask me. Like, hit
definitely.
High impact training thing.
Yeah.
So before I went aside on that question completely, there's great.
Yeah, a bit more about it.
Yeah, a bit more about polo and what it really involves, rather than
so a lot of people assume that there's more players on a team than you actually think. When people say to me, how many players are on a team? And I say 4, and they say, what, really? I thought there was more than that. But no, it's only 4 aside. And usually just 4 chuckers, which a lot of people are familiar with the term chucker, but don't really know what it is. So like in football, you get halves of games, you get the first half, the second half. In polo, you get 4 chuckers. And in high goal, if it's a high level, they might play 6 chuckers, they might play a few more, but usually just 4 chuckers. And they consist of playing for 7 minutes. So you play 4 7-minute sections of game. And the players, it's kind of up to them, really. They choose whether they use 1 horse for that whole 7 minutes, but a lot of the time, because it's so intense, turning, stopping, starting really quick, they usually use 2 or 3 horses per chucker, depending on how many ponies you have, really. So yeah, and obviously you've got your players 1, 2, 3 and 4, and they all do different things, but it's it's not like netball where this person's restricted to that part. Everyone can go everywhere, and that's what makes it exciting, is that you all run around as a pack, and a lot of people kind of enjoy watching it because it's actually quite natural for the horses to run in a pack. That's what they enjoy doing. So really, that's quite exciting, and they do enjoy it. They love it.
And so if you're a 1 horse owner, then is it something you can get involved in, or do you need 3 or 4?
Well, it kind of depends. If you put yourself, you get the people, with a lot of money who own a team, and they kind of enter the competitions and they pay the players to play with them, the good players. So the good players that start out, they don't have a lot of money. They can borrow ponies, they can rent ponies, or over time they make money and they end up buying them. But a lot of the time, they can borrow them. But definitely, people end up owning their own horses, breeding, getting into that kind of thing. So, some of the players that I played with in Pony Club when I was little, I've now gone on to top level, playing with the best in the world. And every time I see them, I'm like, never forget who you played with when you were little, because that was me.
So it's well known in places like Arab Emirates, those kind of places, Argentina. Are they the kind of what is British polo like then? Because that's kind of where we mostly hear about it.
Like obviously it's like other sports. When you think of football, you think there's countries that absolutely love football. Like as England, we love football, but we're not like the best in the world at it. Like we like to think that we are, but we still love it and love what we do. I'd say, countries like Argentina, it's like a way of life out there. They absolutely love it. They've got the best players in the world. That's just it. And we have some of the best players in the world as well, and we love it. So I'd say like they're just a bit one up us, but we're also up there with being, really into the sport. We have some really, really good players, especially, young up and coming ones. Yeah, it's good.
And so what about then, so you've had to go and watch a lot of polo with your dad and things, fair enough. You probably didn't appreciate it when you were little, but now if you had the chance to go and watch it somewhere, where's your like favourite place to go and watch, do you think?
So I grew up watching my dad at a few different places, but the one place that, I have lots of memories at watching him every weekend is the Royal Berkshire Polo Club, which is near us. So yeah, my dad doesn't play anymore, doesn't really ride anymore, but I would love to go back in time and be a kid and, like you say, appreciate it more and watch him and be like, oh my gosh, this is really cool. Because the riding is amazing, as well, like balance, all sorts, play into it. So.
And so the bit a lot of people see them do is jump from one horse to another, don't they?
Yes,
did you do that bit?
between chuckers. Yeah. So it's not, just going to swim a leg over, get off, walk around, it's feet out, hop onto the other horse, go.
And did you do that?
Yeah, I can do that, but it takes a lot of mastering. There's a few fails before you can do it well. Hopping onto another horse and sliding off the other end.
Oh, totally. I can imagine. It sounds like me trying to leg children up where I just throw them over the other side.
Yeah, throw them over the other side. That's exactly it. And you've got a stick and a whip as well. And, you have two sets of reins. So it's, mix up everywhere. But once you've got it, you've got it.
That sounds great fun. So what would you say then to anyone who wants to get involved in it? Where's a great place to go and learn? Because I know they don't necessarily just let you straight on a horse, do they? You've got fling a stick around and stuff, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. Do you know, we've got some really good family friends that own a really lovely place called Ash Farm in Ottershaw. Perfect place to start. You don't, like you say, you don't have to have ever ridden a horse before, but they'll give you, like a 2-hour session and you start on the ground and then they give you a riding lesson and then you can play games with the ball, and it's in an arena, so like winter polo, so it's all safe. Horses are lovely. I would encourage anyone to give it a go if they like the look of it. Whether you've ridden or not, it's such a fun and different thing to do. And it's also a good group activity because, you can have single lessons, but I would recommend, getting a group. Like, do you know what would be a nice thing to do maybe for like a yard Christmas do? Get a group of you together and go down to one of these places and book a session, a 2-hour session, and just have fun and do something different. We do the same stuff with our horses all the time. It's nice to actually give something else a go. And you'd love to see how funny it is watching your friends try and hit a ball off a horse. It is really comedy gold.
And so sometimes in films and television programs and things, we see these like practice, like barrels that they sit on, and then they're in a cage or something, and they just practice hitting.
Yeah. And there's almost like a ball on sometimes on a bit of elastic, and it just pings back. Yeah, they've got one of those at Ash Farm in Ottershaw, and they have 4 balls for the 4 different shots that you play. So one front right, front left, and then back, and you can just keep hitting, and the balls keep coming back at you. And it doesn't matter if you hit the horse with the stick. And that's what most people are scared of, it's like the biggest fear when I say I play polo, people say, well, what if you hit the horse with the stick? And I'm like, but once you're on the horse, you don't do it. Like, it just is something that doesn't happen, because in your brain, you're like, don't hit the horse. And eventually you just understand how the swing works. It's not croquet, by the way. That's another thing that a lot of people think is you hit the ball on the end of the stick, but no, you hit it at the mid. So that's the stick there. You don't hit it from the top there. You hit it from there. So don't play croquet, guys. It's polo, not croquet.
I think croquet sounds a little subdued. We had that at the wedding. We didn't have polo.
No. It would be very difficult to try and play croquet off a horse as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think there's too many trippy bits and
not
stuff.
For me, yeah.
No, that's fair enough. Cool. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, polo sounds fascinating and interesting. So what is it then that meant that you took the leap from polo, this real high octane team sport, with all this stuff, this background you've got, doing really well at it and things, to eventing, which is a lot more in singular, you've got the different phases.
Yeah.
But what was it that meant you made that leap?
Yeah. As you say, you're kind of going from doing a team sport to doing something like very individual. I've grown up on this polo yard my whole life. No one ever, apart from me, has been here, has jumped or done anything else. And it was actually my stepmom who got me into it, because she evented when she was young to intermediate level. So she, as I was growing up, you know, she let me, you know, I played polo, but as well, she was like, well, why don't we get her a little Pony Club pony? She can do a bit of polo on and she can jump as well. So I was like, oh, okay. So I started doing a bit of jumping. And, you know, when you're little, you're crazy. Like most people when they're young and they've got a pony, that, you know, I would have jumped over the moon and back if I could. But now I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I kind of got into jumping that way. And I had another little pony as well that was like a dressage pony. So that was the thing for me. You know, I got the best of both worlds. I had two ponies, one that did dressage and one that did a bit of jumping and polo. And in the end, I was like, you know, I swayed towards polo for a very long time, and ended up kind of not really jumping and just doing the polo. And then, you know, you hit that certain age, 16, 17, and I was like, oh, well, I want the social life, not really interested in the ponies. So we sold one. And then Jemima, she was quite old, the jumping pony, so she retired. And then, you know, everything kind of stopped for a bit. I didn't ride for a very long time. And then I kind of hit this point where I was getting kind of these mental health problems, you know, a bit of anxiety, and it started getting bad. I don't know whether it was hormonal or what. I just went through a phase of being just unhappy. And I think it's because I went through that stage of not having horses in my life. And I was just like, you know what, I want another horse. And I said, I want a jumping horse this time. I want an all-rounder that does a bit of everything. And then I found an advert, this lovely coloured horse, and I thought, oh, he's nice, you know, he does eventing. I've never looked into eventing, you know, hunter trials, but never like proper eventing. Went to look at him, and then the rest is history now.
And so that lovely coloured horse, is that Oreo?
That is Oreo, yeah,
So
my pride and joy.
Oh, tell us more about Oreo and the journey that you two have had together then.
So when I got him, the girl who was selling him, she had another horse that she wanted to focus on, and she kind of, you know, she was moving up onto novice and above, and she thought she kind of maxed out with Oreo. My dad was like, you're not buying that thing, it's fat, it doesn't move. And I said, no, like, I know he can be good, he's really special. My dad's like, no. I know what my dad's like, because, you know, polo ponies are all skinny, and, you know, your top athletes, very flashy, you know, muscles. And then he goes to see this like little fat jumping pony that would barely go over a cross bowl, and my dad was like, no, it's fat. And I was like, please, like, I know this one's the right one. Anyway, got training, got moving, and now he's in perfect shape. You know, I saw what he could have, and I saw what he'd done, and I was like, you know, this is, you know, this horse can do it. And eventually we just kind of trained up, kept working really hard with a few different people, and now we're kind of flying.
And so I love that, the fact that your dad said no, he's a fat little, did he use the word cow pony? Because that's what sprung into my head.
Yes, yeah. He kind of, well, when we first got there, it was like a disapproving look. I was like, yeah, this is, because I've already gone to see Oreo with my stepmom, and then I said, right, I'll take my dad. And my dad was like, okay. And then afterwards we got in the car, and he was like, this thing's fat. I was like, yeah, but he can lose weight. And he was like, oh, it's slow, lazy, what do you want that thing for? He needs a good whip up the arse, you know, like that. And I was like, no, I like him, I think he's cute. And my dad was like, oh, for God's sake, like, whatever, if you want it, get it. But
and so what was it then that meant that you saw that in Oreo, and you knew what that little pony could do?
Do you know, so I went to try him 3 times before I bought him. Went to see him that many times, and after the first time I looked into him a bit more. So I went home and looked up his breeding and stuff, and I saw that his name was Clover Hill Prince. And as a lot of people know, you know, Clover Hill is a great line of jumping pony, and I knew I wanted something Irish, because I have this thing for Irish horses. I just love them. I think they're hardy. I think they do everything you want them to do. They don't really turn their nose up at anything. They're just crazy, and they're easy to have. Looked into him more, had great breeding, you know, had come over from Ireland, done a lot of stuff, and I thought, he's done it, he can do it, he can get back into shape. This is the one.
Oh, that's so cute. I do love Irish horses too.
No, just something about them, isn't it?
It's the brain, I think.
I know, yeah, that is it, the brain.
Yeah. I've had a King of Diamonds, and then my current one is a Clover Hill as well. So
I'm yes, 2 really nice
Irish fan club. Yeah,
we are. I will, you know, all the horses I have will hopefully probably be Irish. I just love them.
So just out of interest, because interestingly enough, my first horse, Monty, was actually a polo pony. Well, he was bred for polo, and he was an Arab cross quarter horse, which is, I called him a quarab.
A quarab.
Bred down in the New Forest at New Park, down at their polo ground. and the whole of his family were bred to do polo, but he was sold as a 2-year-old because they were overstocked. But he was a hardy little thing, but could not be more different to an Irish horse. So what would you say was the differences between the kind of the polo breeding and ponies that you've ridden and Oreo the Irish boy?
Oreo the Irish boy. Well, do you know what's funny? Because obviously I'm the only jumping one in the yard. You know, we've got lots of Argentine grooms here that come over for the English season to look after the horses. And, you know, they walk past on these skinny athletic horses and they look at him and they go, gordo, gordo. And in Spanish, that means fat pig. So he's not even that fat anymore. I thought he was in good shape. So when they call him gordo, I'm like, oh my gosh, like they must think he's huge. But anyway, bit off topic. I think, you know, the main difference, when you look at them next to each other, the polo ponies, they're quite similar to racehorses in a way that, you know, they've got skinny, fine necks. A lot of people say they look underweight, but honestly, a lot of them are just in, you know, they're in good condition, and a lot of their breeding is just a bit like that, just a bit small, a bit like me, I'd say, as a horse, because I'm just skinny and just don't put weight on ever, just a bit like that. Yeah, they're skinny, you know, they're very muscular though, particularly their bums. You see a lot of shape in their bums, and their necks are really fine. You know, when you sit on a polo pony, you feel like you're going to topple over the top because they're so like small. Whereas when I sit on Oreo, you know, it's a bit wider, your legs feel wide apart because it's suddenly the belly goes, woo. So I think the main thing for me is like the necks, how fine and short they are. But, you know, I always say these polo ponies would do a lovely dressage test because their walk decanters are, and their changes, smooth as. So one day I'll still want and convert it to what I want it to be.
Yeah, maybe there's you know, you've got ROR, maybe we should have POR.
Yeah, definitely. Well, a lot of our polo ponies, so our ones have come from Argentina, but you know, a lot of the people that keep their horses at our yard, their polo ponies, they are ex-racehorses. So many ex-racehorses in polo, which I think is really nice because it gives them another chance. And they're great because they can still, you know, run fast and do what they've got to do. They just didn't make it in racing.
Oh, that's really cool. And so what kind of size are they though? Because polo ponies traditionally are actually quite small, aren't they?
They are. Do you know, our ones, because my cousin who plays them is quite small like me, ours are probably only about 14.2 to 15 hands. So little, you know, they're ponies. But some of the other ones on our yard are up to kind of 15.3, but they don't go any bigger than that. You know, you don't see giant polo ponies because the stick would be very long, a bit like elephant polo or camel polo. So yeah, they don't really go above 15.3, really.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of people do think they are ponies, which you've just said some of them are, but mostly they are actually small horses. And these big honking great guys ride them around, don't they?
I know, yeah. Some of these guys are big, yeah. But you know, the fitness, the training that they go through is amazing to watch them kind of transform, because you know, they come in, they spend the whole winter out in the field, they get the whole winter off. They come in these fluffy things, a bit fat, you know, looking a bit scruffy, and then suddenly they transform into this top athlete, you know, muscular, can run for ages, you know, it's amazing.
And so seeing because it's a bit like event horses, they rough them off over the winter potentially, and then they bring them back in. So having seen that yourself and being a part of that, how much of that kind of bringing back into work ethos, and maybe you've got would you say that you're able to do? And part of the reason I'm asking this is actually because there's a lot of horses out there at the moment that are going to have been roughed off for a couple of months now before people start bringing them back in. So what would you say are the kind of key things to bringing a horse back into work again in that respect?
Yeah, so I think it's kind of different for every horse, isn't it? Some people don't like to turn them out. Some horses it doesn't suit to turn them out for a long time. But for me, I think it's so good for their heads. Like, it did Oreo a world of good, and I'm so glad I've had that opportunity to be able to turn him out in a field, you know, and go and live in a herd like a real horse. You know, he's gone out with a huge herd of like 30 horses in a massive field and lived the feral life, which is really nice. But as for bringing them back into work, I actually feel like he came back into work with such a positive and I want to do this attitude, whereas before, like, sometimes he was getting a bit flat towards the end of the season and a bit like, oh, tired and a bit fed up. So it's really good for their brain. And I actually find when they come back into work, you know, even more enthusiastic, which is nice. And for anyone wanting to kind of, you know, thinking about doing that with their horse, you know, should I turn them out and bring them back? You know, depending on how long you put them out for, a long holiday, yes, they're going to lose fitness and muscle, but a short holiday, if you turn them out for 2 weeks, they don't lose as much fitness as you think. So sometimes that holiday can actually really improve their way of going once they come back in.
And so what kind of exercises would the polo guys be using? Might be slightly different to eventing, I don't know. Or are they very similar to bring a horse back?
So when they bring them back in, they either go on the walker, they walk for ages. That's the key thing, you know, is a lot of walking. You know, walking, they start for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour of just walking until they do, you know, an hour of walking. And then, because we've got an exercise track, a lot of polo yards have a big exercise track. Ours is 800 meters. So they'll do 20 minutes of walking, and then they'll do a lap of trot and canter, stop, that's it. And then a walk off, back in. And then it's a bit like, you know, I assume a lot of people in eventing do something similar, but on a kind of different way. You know, lots of walking, and then just slowly introducing longer periods of canter. Because the thing is with polo ponies, they don't really trot, canter, and then trot again, canter, trot. It's walk or canter. So they'll canter a lap, stop, and then the next week canter 2 laps for the week, stop, canter 3 weeks. So it just builds up over time. And once, you know, we go at the level we think they're comfortable with as well. You know, if we think the horses are ready to do a bit more, then we'll step it up. If not, we'll step it back down.
So that's really cool. So it sounds like your place then has got some things that are really specific for polo, but actually at the same time, if you can get access to those kind of facilities somewhere, mega helpful for other things as well. So you talked about an exercise track. So what's an exercise track then? What would you call that?
So yeah, sorry, that a lot of people probably aren't familiar with that if they don't have it on their livery yard. An exercise track is a bit like how you'd imagine like how the racehorses practice. So it's a big kind of fenced oval for us. Which has a rubber and sand surface on it. It's 800 meters. So it's basically just a big track, a big oval. So you can just walk, trot, canter, whatever you want around it. It's probably about 10 meters wide. So not, because the problem is with polo, you know, you lead a few horses at a time. When you exercise a polo pony, you're riding one horse, leading 2 on one side, leading 2 on the other. So actually 10 meters isn't a lot of space. So you kind of like ride in a line, or we select times at which, you know, people go out there and exercise their horses. But for me, I've got a nice wide track that I can go for a gallop round. I'm not holding more horses, so I could use all the space in the world. It's great. And yeah, you know, I can really use those facilities to my advantage because I get to train on polo pitches on grass, which is great. Jump on grass, dressage on grass, do a bit of gallop on the surface. I mean, it couldn't be more ideal really for an event rider.
That's so cool. And isn't it, it's really nice. I mean, obviously there are amazing facilities, but being resourceful, this is something we're all having to do right now, isn't it?
Yes.
Being resourceful and thinking about how you can use what you've got and the resources that you've got to be able to do what it is that you need to be able to do is really key, isn't it?
It is.
So yeah. I want to know a bit more about Oreo then. So you've told us how you got him, and then what did you do? What's the next chapter of Oreo's journey? The little fat cow pony arrived at your yard.
The little fat cow pony arrived at my yard, much to my dad's disgust. yeah, just looking at this thing like, oh God, you know, lunged him the first week or so, you know, just getting him used to the farm and all the machinery and whatnot. My dad's like, oh God, what is this thing? Like, just, she's plodding around and I'm like this. He wouldn't even go on the bit. So he's flinging his head in the air, trotting around. And my dad's like, oh God, like, what have I done? But, you know, I got into training. I got training with a good friend who's a top dressage rider. She was really helping me, you know, get used to him. And that's what everyone does when they first get a horse, get used to them and get to know them a bit better. I did some horsemanship stuff with him just to kind of get bonding a bit better. I really was like keen to get a bond with him because he was a bit like shy at first and wasn't really bothered. And then, you know, I threw myself in at the deep end, which is what I love to do. And I was like, I'm going to sign up and do BE next year. So in January, I signed up to do BE that season. And then it kind of got closer to the time and I was like, what have I done? Like, I've never done a proper like 1-day event. I've done hunter trials, but I've never really done a proper event. I don't know what I'm doing. Really nervous, like. And anyway, our first event we came 11th out of quite a big section of like 30. So I was like, wow, I think this could be our thing. And then we carried on, kept training, and it's just gone on from there. Really, we've just gone up and up and up. And you know, he's kind of one of those been there, done that ponies. He's going to be 17 soon, so he's an old man, but he won't like me saying that. But he's still just as capable now. So it's nice because he's taught me what he already knows and has helped me through it, but I've just got his fitness up a little bit because he was a bit of a piggy.
And so how long ago did you get him now?
So, oh my gosh, 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, yeah. So I've had him, this will be the 4th year. I got him in October.
And when did you start actually eventing with him? That first year?
The first year, 2017, yeah. Deep end, I was like, that's it, I'm going for it. You know, and I think that's like a key thing. I think people, if they're umming and ahhing about maybe thinking, oh, should I do this with him or should I do that with him? Can I do it? Yes, you can. Just you know, if you don't think you're capable of being thrown at the deep end, okay, don't do it. But start off doing something little and work your way up, you know. I just think that's, for me, that was the best way to do it. Just get on with it, because if you beat around the bush and think, oh, should I, you won't do it.
That's so true. And actually, Caroline Moore was talking about that. I don't know if you managed to see her Q&A.
Yeah.
Watched it back, but that's exactly what she was talking about, which is actually just go and do it, but make sure you're safe. Like, make sure you've got the skills and the capabilities. Like, don't go doing something crazy that you don't know how to do. But yeah, you know, actually feel the fear and do it anyway is a bit of a thing. Yes. About, isn't it? And
love that.
Much as I'm not a massive fan of the guy himself, but Ant Middleton's book, The Fear Bubble, is very interesting. I don't know if you've read it.
Yes. Do you know what? My boyfriend's literally just read that book. So
yeah, and it's about you've got bubbles of fear and you have to go into them and pop them to know that they've gone and come back out again and know that you're okay. And it's about that though, isn't it? It's about thinking about what your skills are, you know.
Yeah, what are you good at? And like you say, as long as it's safe, just throw yourself in there and do it, because, you know, you're going to come out the other end absolutely fine if you're doing it safely, you know. And I think it was yesterday with the lady that you were speaking to yesterday on the live Q&A is, you know, just push, you know, turn your fear kind of into excitement, you know, turn it around. Because that's the thing, you know, I get nervous and I think, oh, before a competition, I can't sleep, I can't eat the night before. And I'm like, oh God, if I haven't eaten, I'm going to be all weak tomorrow. And if I don't sleep, I'm going to be all weak. But if you twist that around and turn it into, actually, this is going to be fun. The reason I'm doing this is because I love what I do and I love doing stuff with my horse. Turn it around and turn it into something positive. And it's usually, you know, always going to be a positive outcome. And that's when you get success, is from being positive and just enjoying what you're doing with your horse.
And it's so lovely that your passion comes through. You're clearly so incredibly passionate about what you do and about Oreo. And I know you've got another horse as well, Buzz. Tell us a little bit about Buzz.
Oh, he's lovely. So Buzz was actually born in our back garden. So I've lived in the same place my whole life. Buzz was born here. So we watched him come out. He's very special. So he had a full older sister who was born before him. Absolutely psychotic, just horrible horse. So we thought when the next one came out, oh God, what's this one going to be like? He couldn't be more the opposite. He is just a big, gentle giant. He's 17 hands, but he's just so gentle and cuddly, always wants cuddles, just pesters you for treats. Like, he's a big boy as well. He's fat, and my dad's like, oh, another one. But yeah, he's lovely. He went off because he was kind of broken in when I lost interest and preferred a social life over horses. So he went off and did some stuff with the show jumpers. Jumped 120s, 130s, and unfortunately got an injury a couple of years ago now. So I brought him back here, and he's just going to stay here with me now and do some small stuff. And it's just building him back up. But him and Oreo are a bit of a nightmare together. They lead each other astray, naughty in the field, can't be caught. Two boys. I wouldn't have it any other way, though. I love boys.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you've got your two naughty boys. One of them has to go and do a job, and the other one just stays at home.
I do what I want. Straight and narrow. Yeah. Does what he wants. Get us away with murder. Yeah.
Oh, bless them. So, okay. So obviously we're in a bit of a funny place at the moment with what's going on and things are being stopped. But tell us a little bit, like, when you applied to the ambassador scheme with Flying Changes at the beginning of the year, I just loved your story. I loved your background. I loved your passion. Clearly comes through. And you had some lovely aspirations and goals and things that you want to achieve, which are obviously still there. It's just temporarily on hold right now. So tell us a bit more about what the future holds.
So short term, I was hoping, so last year I got my regional final tickets to hopefully go to Badminton. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do the regional finals this year. That is my big so short term, I would absolutely love to get Oreo to Badminton. You know, he's not a spring chicken anymore, so I'd really like to kind of slow his career down after we got to Badminton and just do smaller things and less with him. So really for me, that is my current drive. Like, there's no way I'm not going to Badminton. Like, I have to get there. I have to get him there. That would be really important to me, and I'd just love to do it. And kind of long term, I would like to get, you know, further up the levels, maybe get another horse. I would like to, you know, my ultimate dream, which I think I put in my application, was just to compete in tails. Doesn't matter what I do, dressage or eventing, I'd love to compete in tails, and that's what I'd really, really love to do. And like, you know, I said earlier, I have a passion for dressage and eventing, so whether it's either one of those, I don't know what the future holds. But right now it's Badminton, and then after that I can think, you know, more specific routes of what I want to do. But as long as it's tails, it's fine.
That's really cool, and they're the kind of goals that we love. The tails one.
Yeah.
We'll get on to badminton in a minute, but the tails
Yeah.
one's awesome because it's what we call artfully vague. It's got enough specificity. It's quite a good word, that one. To it, so like you'll know you're doing it because you're riding in tails. So it's quite obviously a yes/no goal. However, where, when, how, in what discipline, or anything like that is so totally flexible that like you will achieve the goal somehow because you've got all different routes in which you could do it.
Yeah, we'll make it there one way. It doesn't matter how or what I'm doing, but if it's in tails, then it's I've won.
And you'll be joining quite a lot of us. I think we're going to have a tails party one day. There's quite a few of us in the team that's our goal. It's a funny old goal, isn't it? What is it about tails that means we want to ride?
I don't even know what it is. It's just really special. Like when you see people riding in tails, when I see the top riders, I'm like, you look, the dogs, like you just look awesome. Like for me, I've made it.
That's what it is, isn't it? It just looks so beautiful. It looks so elegant, the way they drape. You're right.
And they bob around on the tail as they're doing their pirouettes and their fancy stuff. And I'm just like, I want that to be me one day.
And it's no good if you're just doing the fancy stuff. It has to be in a tailcoat.
Has to be in a tailcoat. Absolutely. Has to be.
So, badminton then. So that's interesting because that's what we call a product goal. So that's a yes/no. So, what is it about badminton? What is it about getting there, the journey? What is it about it itself, the essence of it, that's important to you as a goal? Because it may or may not actually happen itself, but we could still achieve some of the stuff that you want from it along the way. So tell us what that's about.
So obviously everyone knows badminton, amazing place, top 5-star riders, one of the top events in the world, just really exciting. The word badminton makes me excited. For a lot of non-horsey people, that just means a funny game with a racket and a net. But for me, that's just like, oh my God, for event riders, the word badminton just gets anyone excited. And a lot of us have obviously been to watch it live. And the fact that there's an opportunity for grassroots riders to be there and do something, you ride next to the 5-star track nearly most of the way, which I think is just amazing. So for me, that was like, wow, like I would love to do that. And like you say, there's no guarantee that you're going to get there. You've got to really work hard, but those regional final sections are so competitive. So making sure I'm ready for those is going to be really, really important, and absolutely smash it, because there's no way I'm taking no for an answer. What do you mean I haven't qualified?
So looking at that then, okay, so we don't know when it's going to be, or we can't plan specifically at the moment. What would you say are going to be your key elements? What are going to be your team? Where are the skills that you need to improve on? What is your plan that's really going to get you there? We're giving away some secrets now, perhaps. Anyone who's looking like, we've got
close your ears.
Yeah.
Don't tell anyone. So skills for me, obviously there's going to be like horse training and lessons and whatnot. But for me, mentally, I would like to really overcome my nerves and stress around that, because sometimes I feel like that gets the better of me and it can affect my performance. Not all the time, because most of the time it doesn't, but for something like badminton or a regional final, which I know is important, because that's how your brain works. When they know that's important and you can't be let down today, that's when it all goes wrong. Keeping myself under control. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, even top riders, is keeping their nerves from affecting their performance. So really that's something I'd like to work on, which we can go through, and I've already been trying to crack, and it's been a lot better, so hopefully. But the problem is I haven't been able to go to any competitions and practice what I want to. I'm trying to control it, so that's one key skill that I would like to smash through. And I think one of the other ones I spoke about was the warm-up, being in the warm-up. And one problem I really have with myself is my self-esteem and my belief in myself. When I see other horses in the warm-up, I think, oh God, I can never compete against them. They look really good. Look at them. How am I ever going to compete with them? But actually, most of the time, that's not the case. So really, self-esteem and nerve issues, if I smash those, we're there.
Oh, well, luckily you're on the right team for that then. We'll
exactly.
Get cracking. Make sure you get your sessions booked in, Tatty, and we'll be doing that now. Because now it is exactly when you can be working on that stuff. Okay, you may not be able to go and test it, because you may not be able to go to a competition and test it in that respect, but you can start laying the groundwork and changing the patterns in your brain now, so that it's what we call a flywheel. I don't know if you've ever heard of a flywheel, but a flywheel is something that it takes a lot of effort to get it going sometimes to begin with. Well, a flywheel does take a lot, but once it's going, it gets its own momentum, and then it just keeps going with just continually. And it can feel sometimes like it takes a lot of effort to get it going to begin with, but that's where a great coach or someone comes in to actually just give the push to get that
extra push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we know exactly where to pull on that flywheel to get it turning when it might be stuck or at a standstill right now. So here's the cool part that I know you're aware of, and we are going to be doing some stuff on it during the lockdown, is that, you know, you can start making that happen now, so that it's then going, so that by the time you get to test it at competition, it's already doing its thing. Yeah, the patterns have changed, the brain has already changed, you can notice it in other things. So one of the questions I did have for you on that is, you did say, I've already started doing some stuff that started to make a difference, but obviously I haven't been able to test it. What stuff is it that you've already been doing that you found has made a difference? Because maybe there's some bits there that other people can start thinking about at the moment.
Yeah, so it's kind of like my thought process, and just, you know, picking my thought process apart up to a competition. So before all this happened, we'd already spoken, so I did manage to go to a couple of like show jumping competitions, and to be honest, I get mostly nervous for the show jumping competitions just because I don't like it, and I'm not very good at it. I shouldn't say that because it's not very positive, but I just have this belief.
Just like to check you on that one. When you say you're not very good at it, what happened at your last show jumping competition, Tatty?
Well, I came first, so.
So can we change that?
Here we go.
Now, please?
Yeah, here we go. Okay, I'm getting there with it, and we're working on it, and it's going well so far. So what I have put into practice is picking my thought process apart. So, oh my gosh, the night before or on the day, I'm really, really nervous. Oh my gosh, you got to pack the lorry. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Right. So picking it apart. It's normal to be nervous. 99% of people who compete are nervous, just because that's how it is. That's how our body works. We're humans. Secondly, like, what are you actually nervous about? So me, right? What am I actually nervous about? Oh, getting there on time. What if I forget some equipment? What if I don't have time to warm up properly? Like, and then, so the last part, kind of picking my thoughts apart. What really matters? Like, does this really matter? Does it matter if you don't win? Does it matter if you have a bad day and don't do so well? You might, you know, fall off or have a pole or whatever, but ultimately that doesn't matter. Like, what really matters for me is, you know, that's what I've been doing, is reminding myself why I'm here. What matters? I enjoy myself. I achieve the goals that I want to achieve for the day. And if I haven't, no pressure, that doesn't matter, you know? So picking apart my thought process and kind of taking the pressure off, you know, it doesn't matter how well you do, you're here for fun with your horse. So that's how I've started it. And, you know, there's a few other things that I want to try as well, so we'll see.
What other things do you want to try?
So what other things do I want to try? The thing about the warm-up and the self-esteem problems. So I haven't really had the chance to practice this. It's mainly in the dressage warm-up at an event. Is kind of doing my own warm-up. Stop watching what other people are doing in their warm-up, and practice what you know helps warm your horse up the best. You know, don't look at them and think, oh, she's doing that. Do you think I should be doing that? No, you know, you at that moment, I'm the only person in there. Focus on yourself and your horse and how they go, and don't look at other people and what they're doing, because too often that's the mistake I've made. And I've gone down the center line being completely unprepared because I've been too worried about what the person over there is doing and not what I'm doing.
That's so totally common as well, and I know there's loads of others in the team that have actually gotten over exactly that. So yeah, I mean, it's really interesting hearing the fact that you're in the middle of this. I mean, no one's ever out the other side. Like even it's like Adele and I were saying yesterday, like, you're always on a journey with this stuff. You're always learning things, and you know, always. Those of us that are training to be able to do this with other people, like we go through something, we think, yes, I'm fixed, amazing, and then like a few months later something rears its head and we think, I'm actually just never mind.
What's going on?
Lesson. Yeah.
Again, I actually, you know, I went to watch some show jumping with my boyfriend, and he asked an interesting question. I can't remember. It was along the lines of something like, but why do they need trainers if they're a top rider? You know, if they're the best, why do they need a coach? And it's like, well, even the best of the best in the world have coaches. There's always something you can improve on. Most of the time, things aren't perfect. You know, there's always something you can work on. So, you know, everyone, you know, like you say, it's an ongoing journey. There's always something we can do. There's always something more. And that's the thing that I'm pleased with my attitude that's changed recently is, oh, you did really well in this test, right, let's go home and improve even more on those things and start working on the other things. There's always something I can do.
And I love that attitude, and that's why we picked you as part of the team, because it's that exact attitude that Caroline's been talking about, that Adele was talking about, that everyone is talking about, is the thing that really gives you the edge as a competitor in this sport. Is, yes, skills and horse are important, but it's having that attitude of, there is always something I can learn, there is always something I can improve on. That doesn't mean, I work with a lot of clients that are so like that, they've gone really far, but then they've forgotten to stop, smell the roses and celebrate success. So we have to do the opposite of them. We have to go, stop, celebrate your success.
Yeah, you've done well.
Yeah, well done. Like, stop for a moment before you
can't do anything yet.
Yeah, before you just keep the, but it's not good enough, is it? And I have to say, I was very much in that camp, which was even if I'd gone and won stuff and done really well, and everyone's going, oh my God, that's amazing. I'm going, yeah, I know, but it could have been better though, couldn't it?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
There's a flip side to everything, isn't there? It's finding that balance, isn't there, between driving and wanting. And I think it's a timing thing. When you did really well at your show jump competition and you won your class and you said, yay, it's amazing, I won, I'm so pleased, you didn't then go home and go, well, I'm done, that's it, thanks. You stopped, you celebrated, and then you looked at what needed to improve going forwards.
That was exactly it. Yeah,
it's about that timing, isn't it? It's not just like yay, I've done well, but it's not good enough either. It's yay, I've done well, pause, stop, take the moment, enjoy it for a little bit, now move on, what's the next thing I can do? So I think that's one of the things that's changed a bit for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And what I saw once was some of the top riders, once they've ridden their cross country course, or even show jumpers or dressage, they watch what they've done back on video and think, right, what could I have done better? Even if they've won, they might watch their cross country round and think, right there, I should have done this, should have done that. But like you say, there's a balance. You don't want to be too hard on yourself. Oh, I've won, but you want to enjoy the success. You don't want to think, oh, I've won, but it wasn't very good. Enjoy what you've got, and then you can start to fine tune little things that you want to do better, but don't beat yourself up ever.
Yeah, exactly. And that's such a great attitude to have, and I dare say an attitude you've probably been brought up with if you've been from a family that are competitive in the way that they are, but are very successful and enjoying life as well.
Definitely. Yeah, you've got to enjoy what you've got, because life won't be happy if you just don't have time to enjoy it. So
cool. And I think that's probably a really good note to finish on, actually, Tatty. Thank you so much. We've covered some really interesting topics. There have been some lovely comments from people saying hi, especially the guys in the team.
Hi everyone.
And I'm sure there'll probably be some more questions and comments coming through when people are able to watch this back. So this slot sometimes is just, people are just busy at this time, aren't they? So
yes, they watch it back, and I'll look at the comments later. If anyone else has any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Absolutely. And also on the podcast, if people want to get a hold of you after this, what's your Facebook, Instagram, or way of contacting you?
So my Instagram is at tattywooldridge.eventing, and that is also my Facebook URL thing that you can type in as well. Not many people have the name Tatty Wooldridge, so when you type it in, it comes up straight away.
Cool. And they can find you through obviously our Instagram and things we follow you. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Fab. Amazing. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Tatty.
It's been
very, very interesting. It's great thoughts, wonderful mindset, and very interesting background as well.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thanks, then.
Bye. See you. Bye-bye.